Eric, so the big news out of DC the last couple weeks, new stadium plans, and they're named the host of the 2027 draft. It feels like big things are happening for Washington football. What are your thoughts on this?
Fact that the Commanders were in the situation that they were in due to their ownership,
Hmm.
it was never, let's put it this way, the National Football League was always going to be a better with the Washington Commanders, one of the most historic franchises in a good place. And of course, the NFL is amazing at creating parity throughout the league and also supporting smaller markets. Though DC, of course, is a massive market. It's the commissioner's dream to have one of the biggest markets in the city have a relevant football team that is
Yeah.
good, that is exciting, and that can host these major events in a city of such influence. So um, we all knew how terrible the Dan Schneider era was for Washington, as we saw not only play on the field but also with you know, with the politics involved in football, with things that like getting a new stadium built, as well as things like hosting drafts, hosting Super Bowls,
Hmm.
etc. That never happened with Snyder. So now that John these relationships and the team has gotten the lawmakers in DC to get this stadium built, um, it's a no-brainer. It was only
Yeah.
being held up because of the problems that their past owner had. But from a perspective, you can never forget this all is having Washington D.C. be the host of a be capable of being the host for things like Super Bowl and drafts and have a good team always made sense to the National Football League. And I'm sure that everybody who has financial interest in the National Football League is happy
Hmm.
about these developments in Washington, as are the fans.
It feels like it really does say something about, you touched on it, the leadership in Washington from where they were. Like Dan Quinn has been such a good fit. And I feel like the vibe is just so different in the post Dan Snyder era.
So the vibe is absolutely different, and it's something that you see from the players. Like there's only a number of holdovers who have seen both sides of the coin. One Jonathan Allen, Viking, he's spoken upon it. Players even back to the training camp last year mentioned how the vibe was entirely different for those players who were holdovers from like the Ron Rivera's and the Dan Schneider eras. Mentioned how it was basically night and day when they came into the facility, how they operated and how things went. So the the change was always necessary. We know all the reports that have come out after the fact, and even while Snyder was owner of the Commanders, so that was never really like hidden. And that
Hmm.
those influences are no longer over Landover, Maryland, and the Commanders training facilities. You see it, like when you see like some of these social media videos of the team after the game, like some of the see like it did not exist prior years in Washington D.C. So the vibe is absolutely amazing, and I can't pinpoint it to exactly what last years did or what Dan Quinn is doing. All I know is that they're doing it the right way because we've been so used to seeing it the wrong way, and that never panned out. And then in year one, with this full regime set to go, and Jaden Daniels, the sky is absolutely the limit for Washington D.C. and for its fans.
Well, and with all these new updates for them, is this also the Jaden Daniels effect compounded as well, or does that have anything to do with it?
I mean, it's in an NFL locker room, so I can't, say these things with any certainty, but I can only imagine that when you go to practice every day and you have somebody throwing you absolute dimes and making crazy plays versus going to practice quarterback who's struggling, I'm sure the vibe in the locker room is better former than with the latter. Jim has been lauded as one of the hardest workers in the building as a rookie.
Mhm.
Has clearly earned the respect of veteran teammates, which is probably a very difficult task for any rookie in the National Football League. Um,
Mhm.
so the quarterback, the franchise, the king of the castle, and having one that's not only as talented as he is, but also as personable, as humble, and clearly as sure as he was as a rookie. It speaks volumes, and yes, certainly a big piece as to why this team is so glued together. Because it's not just okay, we have this fun really hard. We have this fun guy who tries really hard, and the vast majority of the people who are also playing the same position he's playing.
Last question for you, Eric. So, hosting the draft, new stadium, they're the nation's capital. They have Jaden Daniels. Is it fair to officially call Washington a destination location now?
Absolutely, we've already seen it. Debo Samuel
Mhm.
was traded for, but at the same time, the jubilation he had coming to the team speaks volumes to the team. Players, I read recently, like an anonymous player report mentioning how Washington is now a destination franchise and want to play with Jaden Daniels. People want to play for Dan Quinn. And,
Mhm.
it's very easy to say that Dan Quinn just, poached some of those old Cowboys, which he did do. And, hey, like, they just want to play for him because they know the system. Like, no, they want to play for him because they want to play for him. And I think that combination now of having this star quarterback, this owner who's clearly invested in building something legitimate the right way, coach, player centric coach, but he's been to a Super Bowl, he's been now 2 NFC Championship games, so there is some credibility at the very least for Dan Quinn's resume for what he's done as a head coach, and even like small things, creating practice is doing better things for teams' family members, like all those little things, absolutely have been adding up. And Washington is certainly a destination moving forward.